Dear organizers and participants of the conference, allow me to introduce the paper Recurrence Analysis of Innovation Behavior of Bitcoin Market Agents in Conditions of COVID-19. The purpose of the research is the behavior of agents of the digital economy, which is described using the rate of requests for the Bitcoin rate in the context of COVID-19. The object of the research is the time series, requests, Bitcoin in English and Russian of Ukrainian users of the digital market, and the price of Bitcoin. The subject of research is the methods of nonlinear dynamics.
According to figure on this slide shows that the dynamics of indicators is characterized by a high value of volatility.
In addition, the trend in the frequency of requests for Bitcoin in English and Russian are similar, but differ in the values of the number of requests, which is quite logical, taking into account the dominant languages in the country. Studying individual periods of the time series of dynamics, it was found that the maximum values of the price of Bitcoin and the frequency of online requests for Bitcoin either coincide in the period or are very close in time. Also, sharp trends in the price of Bitcoin are accompanied by a surge in interest in it, even if the price trend is decreasing. Whereas the stable fluctuations of the Bitcoin price within the boundaries of a certain corridor, to a lesser extent, but still of interest to economy agents.
It is proposed to eliminate the unpredictability of the studied time series of dynamics using recurrent analysis, the implementation of which will make it possible to characterize the behavior of digital economy agents in new conditions of existence and development. To study the time series, the authors proposed a methodology based on the methods of recurrent analysis for analyzing the behavior of digital economy agents in the context of COVID-19.
The input time series for the analysis were generated using data from Google Trends and Invest Funds for the period from July 12, 2015 to June 28, 2020. Authors investigate three time series, namely, the frequency of online requests for Bitcoin in Ukraine on English and Russian, and the price of Bitcoin. After the formation of the database, the behavior of the dynamics of the studied time series should be analyzed in order to establish the type of behavior and the presence of a trend or random behavior of the series. To apply the proposed methodology, the data values of the initial series were normalized. The recurrence plot was built based on the calculated space dimension and time delay parameters of the time series. The next stage of the proposed methodology is analysis of the measures of recurrence plot. This analysis makes it possible to determine the measures of complexity of the structures of recurrence plot, such as percent recurrence, percent determinism, average diagonal line length, maximum diagonal line length. To conduct a better study of the temporal structure, the dynamic series of the Bitcoin request frequency, in English, and time series of price of Bitcoin were divided into 4 periods, the length of each of which was 65 observations, periods A, B, C and D. Recurrence plot of the behavior of digital economy agents were constructed and recurrence quantification analysis was calculated for each subset of the time series, adjacent non-overlapping windows of 65 data points. Gradual changes in the parameters of the behavior of digital economy agents are clearly visible, in particular during period B, where the drift of the attractor was revealed, white lower and upper corners of the plot, a diagonal line, and the emergence of a new structure during the period of influence of the consequences COVID-19 in period D. Analyzed period on the recurrence plot is displayed by contrasting areas and stripes, which is explained by sharp changes in values, randomness, rarity in general, stochastic behavior of digital market entities, unpredictability of changes in interest in it. The change in the percent recurrence value in the periods under study proves that the behavior of digital market entities is unstable, noisy inter-event type data. The lowest value of percent recurrence was recorded in period B, when the trajectory of behavior reaches a new level of development of processes. Starting from period C, the percent recurrence value increases significantly. The obtained values indicate an increase in irregularity and the presence of noisy inter-event type data in this time series. Percent determinism in periods A and C, the measure value is almost the same, while in period D it slightly decreased. Average trend predictability time and maximum diagonal line length the lowest in periods B and D. The trajectory of the behavior of digital economy agents demonstrates a phase transition to another level of development in period B and the formation of a new, approximate model to the existing one, but with new qualitative parameters in period D. At the same time, the recurrence plots for the corresponding periods of the Bitcoin price are also characterized by the attractor drift. However, the dynamics of the indicator adheres to the original trajectory from September 10, 2016 and takes into account the changes in processes during the D period as a result of the impact of COVID-19. Despite the powerful volatility and extreme growth in the price of Bitcoin, in particular in 2018, the symmetry of plots proves the constancy of the formation of Bitcoin price over time, the tendency of points to a given trajectory, but with the inherent randomness of qualitative values. The percent recurrence value of the series of Bitcoin price dynamics is lower than the value of the similar measure of the frequency of requests for Bitcoin, which proves the more constant behavior of digital economy agents. However, in period A time series of Bitcoin price dynamics were characterized by regularity and clear definition of the dynamics of changes in the time series.
The indicators of predictability of the time series are similar with the dynamics of changes in requests for Bitcoin in periods B and D, but differ significantly in values. In particular, the lowest values of the measure were recorded in period C. However, the time series of Bitcoin price dynamics are characterized by a high level of unpredictability. The average predictability time significantly decreased from 19 points in period A to 5 points in period D. The length of the trend also decreased. Another result was obtained from the data of recurrence plot of agents of the digital economy for the indicator of the frequency of requests, Bitcoin in Russian. And this is logical, since Ukraine is a bilingual country, Ukrainian and Russian languages. In the period A clearly shows the drift of the attractor, the formation of a strong trend in the price of Bitcoin, which is displayed in the form of an arrow. The formation of a trend is accompanied by an increase in interest in price changes. The frequency of requests is not stable in time for the frequency and value. Black stripes characterize non-stationarity of behavior, which means the formation of a transitional period. Periodic patterns characterize the cyclical nature of certain changes in interest in the price of Bitcoin, the distance between which determines the period. Black dots, which are repeated in isolation, characterize a random interest in the price of Bitcoin, its rapid changes. The formation of the price trend, which is presented on the recurrence plot for period B, is characterized by a certain stationarity of fluctuations within the accepted range of values. The fading of Bitcoin price fluctuations is accompanied by the systematization of interest in it, streamlining the behavior of digital economy agents, reducing it to the usual monitoring of prices. The constancy and regularity of the Bitcoin price dynamics significantly increases in period B compared to period A. However, the percent determinism is reduced from 97.97% to 82.61% in the corresponding periods. Over the selected periods, the average predictability time is decreased, and the trend length decreased by half. There is a change in the phase space, trends in general. Other trends show metrics for the time series of Bitcoin requests. The percent determinism is decreasing. The average predictability level slightly decreased, which confirms the formation of a clear trend and a strong trend. As a result of the research, the relationship between the time series of the price of Bitcoin and the frequency of online requests for Bitcoin is an indicator that characterizes the behavior of agents of the digital economy. The behavior differs were confirmed in the periods before and after the introduction of the COVID-19 quarantine restrictions. The approach and procedure for the implementation of the recurrence quantification analysis of the time series of the price of Bitcoin and the frequency of online requests about it are determined. The behavior of the agents of the digital economy, the frequency of requests for Bitcoin in English, showed a change in trend precisely in the period from October 9, 2016 to March 31, 2019, where the drift of the attractor and the emergence of a new structure were revealed as a result of the research of windowed recurrence quantification analysis, the time series of the Bitcoin price and the frequency of requests. Bitcoin, in Russian, are qualitatively different from the similar series of the frequency of requests. Bitcoin, in English for Ukrainian user, the behavior of digital economy agents in the context of COVID-19 has generated a new trend with updated qualitative indicators.